Welcome to Infra Support videos. My name is Karthik. Today we're going to discuss about the prerequisite for ILM installation. The components with respect to DataArchive are the ILM engine and repository, data vault loader and data discovery, and the last one is data vault service for external attachment. So the first one, ILM engine and repository. So there we will need to specify a location where we need to install the components and also the repository database where it will store the metadata. So the second option is the data vault loader and data discovery. So this is the component which is used to archive the data to data vault. So the data vault is nothing but a compressed read-only database, which is unlike the relational any other relational database like Oracle or SQL Server. So this is a read-only compressed database where the data will be loaded in the form of flat files. So the last one is the data vault service for external attachment. So it is a web application that will allow us to load the attachments which has the data into the data vault. And the second major component is data visualization. So we can create reports based on the archive data which we archived into IDV using the data visualization option. So basically we'll get only two options, that is data archive and data visualization. So the components whichever is mentioned above is a part of the data archive itself, and the second component is data visualization. So this will be the data visualization service will be started in a different port altogether other than the ILM server. So let's discuss about the DataArchive repository. The DataArchive repository is nothing but the database where the metadata information will be stored. So each and every navigation with respect to the ILM UI will be loaded in the form of metadata, that is loaded with respect to the database. So the ILM repository can be created on the databases like Oracle, Microsoft SQL Server, or IBM DB2. So these are the only three supported database version which we can use as ILM repository. So with respect to the Oracle SQL Server and IBM DB2 database version, please refer to a PAM document which is available in the network portal. So in order to create this, in order to make this database as the repository, we need to create a user and a table space before we start the installation. So during the installation, we need to specify the connection details with which the metadata will be loaded. So when we start the installer, it will ask for the database details where we need to enter the details such as hostname, port, the username, user table space, and the index table space. If you want to use Oracle as the ILM repository during the installation, it will ask for two table space value, that is AM underscore data, that is for the data default table space. Another one is am underscore index, that is index default. So please reach out to your database administrator in order to create these two table spaces before we start the installation, which should have 3 GB space. The rollback table space should have 1 GB and the temporary table space should have 2 GB. If you want to use IBM DB2 as your ILM repository, so first thing we need to do is we need to create an ILM repository schema and grant authorization to a user. So to the user whom we are going to use as the admin user during the installation. The next step is to create the table space, and the last one is grant the user access to the table space, the same user which we mentioned in the first step. If you want to use Microsoft SQL Server as your ILM data repository, so we need to assign the sysadmin role for the admin user whom you're going to mention when you're doing the installation. Please reach out to your database administrator to get more details on this. When it comes to the system requirement, we need to have at least 2 GB which will be used as the heap space memory for the ILM process. Since ILM is a Java based application, so the Java heap space will be the one which is mentioned there as 2 GB. So we need to make sure that we have at least 2 GB of space, the Java heap space, which will be used by the ILM process. This 2 GB is by default. When we do the installation, the application, that is the ILM process, will be allocated 2 GB, that is as per the design. When it comes to the system requirement, we need to make sure that we have 2 GB of RAM available, which will be utilized as the Java heap space, since ILM is a Java based application. So we need to make sure that we have a dual core processor available on the ILM server machine. And once it is installed, we need to make sure that we have a port higher than 1024, just to make sure that we don't need to log in as a root user. So whichever user who has the admin privilege can log in, and we can start the service. So with respect to the ILM 6.5 and 6.5 hotfix 1 installer, Azure OpenJDK is shipped within the installer itself, so we don't need to install any JDK for the installation. If you are using any other version which is lesser than 6.5, that is 644 or 643, we need to make sure that we have the JDK installed, and the Java home and the path variable has to be set. The Java home is still the JDK home, and the path which should be till the Java home /bin. Along with the ILM installation, according to the ERP application whichever you use, so we need to install the Accelerator on top of ILM as well. So the accelerators which are available, the few are Oracle EBS, SAP, JD Edwards. So these accelerators are available for the corresponding ILM version, which needs to be installed on top of the ILM. So once the ILM engine is installed, we can install the accelerator on top of it. So the installation, when we do the installation, the installer connects to the ILM repository to understand the port on which ILM server is running, and accordingly it will install the required accelerator binaries as well. So the metadata will be loaded, and then once we start the service, we'll be able to see the accelerator which is installed from the UI itself. Thank you for watching.